Welcome to Stock Watch with me, Ray White. For joining me to unpack your stock-related questions today are Schalk Louw from PSG Wealth, Old Oak, and also David Shapiro from Sasfin Wealth. Be sure to send your questions through via email to stockwatch@bdtv.co.za, via SMS on 41392, or on X @BusinessDayTV using the hashtag StockWatch. Right, David and Schalk, good to have you both with us this evening. Looking at what's going on at the moment, the commodities sort of roller coaster, if I can put it that way, seems to be petering out. David, I'm going to start with you. I mean, what are you seeing? Are you breathing a little bit easier, or are you going, okay, that was just another week with the commodities roller coaster?
Well, I just say, ho-hum, another day in the market. This just seems to be repeating itself all the time. I was petrified last week, really petrified when I saw the commodity markets come down. And my biggest fear, Ray, was that there was going to be systemic risk. In other words, when people get caught on a trading position, they sell their good stocks to pay for the bad stocks, or sell the good deals to pay for the bad deals. And yet it's all forgotten. Everything's back where it was, and gold's going up and platinum's going up and so on. So a lot of speculation. It's not easy to read at the moment. It really isn't. And that's the best I can say. I don't think this is going to collapse. I don't think there's anything negative about it, but it's very difficult to try and position yourself in this turbulence.
Yeah. Schalk, from your side, I mean, it is turbulence, but I suppose it was expected. But where does it land up? Because, the Rand's made major gains. Gold has been shooting the lights out. Is this where we stop?
I love how you said this was so expected, because you expected something that I clearly didn't, right? Yeah, no. I mean, let's just wrap it up in sort of 2 or 3 sentences. I mean, I had a few frantic calls on Friday. People telling me, Monday morning as well, saying, well, what the hell is going on? What's going on with gold now? I mean, this has been phenomenal. We've seen a drop of 10%, over 10% in the gold price, 20% in the silver price. Is this sort of a crack? And I had to sort of compose myself, because there was 2 questions in that one. The first one was, yes, we saw the pullback of gold of 10% on Friday, and that was massive. And we're going to talk about that in a second. But I mean, even with that pullback on Friday, we still had a gold price increased by over 16% in dollar terms in January alone. So, I mean, people asking, why did we see this massive pullback on Friday? Why are they not asking, why didn't we see the over 20% increase and over 30% increase in the gold and silver price prior to Friday? It was a significant move, right? That was a significant move. Why? Because when you look at the CBOE, Chicago Board of Exchange, gold volatility index, we know the most well-known one is the COB volatility index, which is from the S&P 500, but they also got a gold volatility index. And when you look at that volatility index, let's call it over the past 17, 18 years, you would have seen that mostly hovered around let's call it 15% levels. During COVID, that thing literally shot up. The gold volatility went up over 30%. The only time it was higher than those levels was in the 2008 financial crisis. Now we know that was where everybody thought the US was bankrupt. That was it's a pivotal point in history. There, the gold volatility index shot up to 50, just over 50 during that period. June 2008. On Friday, for the first time, it went very, very close to that 50 for the first time in 17 years. So 17 years. So that's a significant move. So that might answer the final question of that individual. Did we see something crack? And I do think there might be a few cracks there.
Yeah, I think you're quite right. David, the Rand as well. I mean, if We're looking at it now. Things seem to be stable down, but I'll go back to the same thing I said to Schalk as well. Are we seeing it stay where it is just for a while, that is?
I think while the dollar might be on a weakening trend, and I think the momentum that it's fallen, I think is going to slow down. That pace is going to slow down. And I wouldn't be surprised over the next few months that you start to see the dollar clawing back something. But that's how markets go. You know, it's two forward, one back type thing. So I wouldn't go too short of the dollar at the moment. But and as we start to see economic data coming out that I think is going to support the US, I think money will start flowing back. Just one thing, when Schalk mentioned a crack, there are cracks. You know, this is how markets operate as well. So when you start to see that crack on Friday, expect more cracks coming.
Yeah. Well, that's very interesting. All right, one more thing before we get to discussing stocks, and I got quite a few emails to get through as well. AGOA was signed by US President Donald Trump. I didn't see that happening because I thought he'd give it a big cross. He'd crumple up the paper and throw it out. But yet he didn't. I mean, Schalk?
Yeah, no. I mean, there's a lot of things that's recently been said and warned that didn't necessarily come into fruition. I just want to quickly touch one step back, also on the rand, because while David was mentioning the rand, what can we expect? I sort of thought two sides. We've got the bulls and the bears currently, and I'm not a betting man, as they usually say, but in poker they call it a tell. If somebody you touch your skin, or you have a little twitch, they say that's a tell. That's something that shows your hand. You've got either good hand or bad hand. And I think Friday, one thing that has shown us again was the tell. When we saw this massive pullback in the precious metals, golds, silvers, platinums, we also saw suddenly a sharp weakening in the rand. Yes, there was some improvement in the dollars, as David alluded to, but it was a weakening in the currency. So I think for the people that are watching this and saying, well, what do we see? Do we see a much stronger rand, much weaker rand going forward? I mean, I think we need to watch these commodities because clearly the tell is if commodities are going to continue to improve, then don't be surprised if we start seeing the rand going close to the 15 or even to the 14 rand levels. And inversely, the same thing. If this stops, hey, be careful. Be careful.
I mean, David, we saw Impala Platts doing really well. I think that was last week.
Yeah.
Obviously, this is going to continue. And I think for most of our gold producers, I mean, up to today, I was looking at most of them up 4%. It's going to continue. It's going to continue. Is it still a good stock to get into? Should you be buying our miners?
I'm hoping that we get some. It's a difficult. It really is difficult. Do you know what's something, Ray? Go look at Valterra. Go look at Impala. Go look at Sibanye. They're still below levels that they were in 21 and 22.
Okay.
It seems that we're into this high market and that, but there's a lot of work. They came crashing down, and that's also another little signal as well. Just be careful. When those things fall, they fall, and they continue to fall. But I'm looking more at you want to see world growth rate.
Yeah,
you want to see more data centers using more copper. We want those signs. Gold and silver and platinum going up at these levels is not a sign of economic activity or industry, and that's my worry. So I love commodity markets when they're driven by real demand for iron or for copper, for all the underlying, simply because things are expanding and those signs are not there yet. Yeah. I say yet because that's a hope.
Oh, wow.
I'd like to add.
The diversifieds are okay at these levels. They're okay. Yeah.
Okay, Schalk?
I'd like to add, I mean, on the PGMs, and also that'll go for golds as well. It's like David said, it's all on the, but we need to look at these mines. I mean, you asked about Impala Platinum.
Yep.
I mean, these their profit margins, when they look at their last trading update, And I specifically look at Valterra and Impala Platinum. They're hovering around let's call it the 25-30% levels, which was already much higher than previous years. Now with the recent movement in these PGM prices, and I looked at it last week, now given slightly higher prices, but I mean, suddenly Valterra and Impala Platinum's growth profit margins now kicked up to over 50%. When you look at the gold miners, and there I looked at Gold Fields and Anglo Gold, both of them with the last trading updates were sitting at profit margins at around about the 50% level, which is similar levels to who reported last week. It was ASML. ASML reported that profit margin. Everybody went like, wow, 51% to 54% profit margins. I mean, that was our gold miners 6 months ago. They're now trading at gross profit margins if, naturally, the gold price stay at these, let's call it 5,000 odd. We're talking about 70% gross profit margins. So they're extremely profitable. They are extremely cash flow positive. And
dangerous, Schalk. That's because
I know.
Ray, you're going to have the government saying, let's go and impose some kind of royalty tax on their turnover. And then the miners, the mine unions are going to come and say, hold on a sec, let's have our share.
David, don't give anybody ideas, please. Nobody give anybody ideas this evening.
So
I don't know.
We hope that the money is used usefully, and is pushed back into the economy and to keep it growing, rather than distributed widely,
Well, was it always called? It was always called tips for Trevor. Now this is most probably tips from David.
But this is the thing as well. I mean, I remember there were days with Sibanye that, I mean, Schalk, they wanted to, I don't know, downscale. They wanted to retrench. There were questions about what the CEO was earning because he had this huge amount of money. That was last year. Everyone's forgotten about the Schalk.
I just want to say, I mean, you're talking about something that I read in the history books. Come on! I mean, when we sat here literally 1 year ago, I mean, yes, already on that stage we had a nice and a lovely run in things like gold miners. But if we sat here, the 4th of February, exactly a year ago, we would have said, oh man, PGMs has been the worst position over the past few years. We don't know when that's going to rectify. We knew when we look at the World Platinum Council for 2024 and 2023, there was a way bigger demand than there was an offer, and we always knew that what's going on here. I mean, why is the actual PGM price is not reacting? And it just took until April, and from April it just went like boom. I think it's like David said, just the one thing that we've learned, and David, we've had this conversation before. Even if you still go to your local bank and ask them for what is your top tier product that you'll have, they'll always tell you, you're going to be a platinum client. And if you're second tier, you'll be a gold client. Why? Because the gold price is trading at $5,000 odd and the platinum price is $2,000. It's because if you look back just to 2008, 2009, the gold price was trading at half the price of the platinum price. That's how things can change in a fairly short period of time.
Gosh, that's so interesting. I see a few emails have come through, but not on that. Quinton, are the big guns such as Vodacom still a good place to put your money? And I know that today Vodacom, they've released a bit of an update and things are going really well with them. David, you are nodding your head, Vodacom?
I had a look through it. It's not my favorite area, and I've repeated, many times before that it's a very tough area. You spend a lot. You have to spend a hell of a lot of money putting out all this capital equipment, and all your customers want your goods for nothing. So that's why they go to Starbucks, or no one wants to pay for data. But when you look at it, I think the disappointment is South Africa, which is honestly almost at a standstill, very, very difficult to increase share and revenue. But the growth is coming from Egypt, and it's also coming from East Africa. But they've had a very good run, and I think they've just got to maintain that offshore growth. But it's not one. I'm not mad about it. It's an area that's too difficult for me, much too competitive.
All right. Schalk, is it also your game as well? Too competitive? I mean, if you look at Vodacom, MTN, I suppose they're all in the same WhatsApp group. But, I mean, today, Vodacom, that was good news for them.
Yeah, I mean, let's do sweet and sour. Let's do a Chinese dish here. I mean, the sweet is when we look at the telcos in South Africa over the past year, they've been some of the top performers. You know, when we think of 2025, people tend to think gold, platinum, palladium, and people tend to forget that when you look at the top 15 stocks of 2025. You will find MTN in that top 15. You will find Telecom in that top 15. And you will find Vodacom in that top 15. So, I mean, I think the results that we've seen is sort of reiterating today, or they've called a trading update, reiterating why they're in the top 15, why they've been recovering. Not performing well, because when you do a long-term graph on any of these counters, it's been a horrible story. So, I mean, currently, when you look at the likes of the Vodafones, those cars are still trading at fairly low P's. But David, I'd like to borrow your saying by saying they're selling a product that people want for free. Yeah. That's a tough business to be in. Yeah. So I think where I look at the likes of the MTNs, Vodacom, Telecom, and also now Cell C, is what are they going to do? What are they going to sell with these millions of customers they've got in the books? And the fintech seems to be the likely area. I mean, we've seen, the murmurs of, MTN's, banking type of products. We've seen now in Vodacom today where they released and say 13% of their revenue now actually made up out of financial services. Right. Now that's, I think, a good sign. Will they go quick enough from the product that people want for free, which they won't be able to sell in a few years' time, to something that people do want? That's going to be the big question. I'm also a bit worried. I think 4 really big providers in a smallish country like South Africa or in Africa, it's going to be always going to be a tough ask.
Yeah, it's difficult.
I like where Pepcor's going, that area, or maybe even Optasia. I don't know enough about Optasia. It provides a platform. So there's plenty of activity there. And I think Pepcor, if you looked at their numbers yesterday, they're doing well selling phones, on credit. Buy now, what's it now? Buy now, pay later type thing. And also coming into the shops, using the money, using all those systems. It's a better area for me rather than actually going Vodacom and MTN. Yeah. And Telecom and Chelsea, if you want to add a few extra competition to the theme, a little bit of it.
No, anyway. It's interesting. It's interesting. Right. So another one from Anonymous. Concerns about RCL and sugar imports. What are you seeing with RCL? Because I know they do worry a little bit about these sugar being dumped in our country. Schalk?
It was a better update.
Somebody had to slip that in.
Yeah, it's a tough market. I mean, and it's showing. Like, what's the share price? I think it's something down like 6% today. I mean, yeah, these let's call it the sugar tariffs clearly not being adequately shielded. So I think the sugar market locally is tough, and it's definitely been relating through to their Salati products. So not a great update, and clearly a tough market.
Yeah, I mean, David Tongard Hewlett, they've been calling for all sorts of restrictions and things like that. They're battling. They're in business rescue. I suppose, I mean, this legislation, these new rules need to come soon.
Yeah, it's. I feel sorry for Tongard. I mean, I still feel sorry for the sugar industry, but it's always been like that. It's always been a very, very tough, low margin area. And you rely on hurricanes and storms and droughts and everything. For me, things that grow in the ground or even try and fly like chickens are always difficult. Even though Rainbow had some great numbers out today.
I was about to bring them up.
But I mean, it's not often you can get very complimentary about chickens. But they seem to be all right. it's another one of those difficult areas, right? You got to maybe when they're completely bombed out, you go in and get them and that. But that kind of it's the other commodities we were talking about, those ones that if you drop on your toe hurt. I think that's a better area of the market to be than those things that try and fly or grow in the ground. So
they don't work. All right, next question. Simon wants to know, the banks seem to be frequent stock picks on your show. Is one better than the other? And I mean, David, I'll go with you on this one. We've had Nedbank, we've had FirstRand, we've had. I mean, how do you decide?
Boring companies, yeah. You know, they plod along. You're always safe recommending a bank, you know, because our banks are well run. That's the compliment. But there's very little growth here. You know, it's very difficult to find growth. And so I can't fault them. I can't fault them for doing what they do, providing the service. They don't lend money. They never lend money. It's almost impossible to get anything out of them. So, yeah, you know, if you want to fall back and you want to be safe, recommend a bank.
Sure. Schalk?
I'm going to grab this one because I think there's not enough accolades being. If you take our local banks over the past few months, it was definitely one of the star performers in any portfolio. So I mean, and also on a monthly basis, I usually look at our different sectors. I look at the South African banking sector and I placed it relative against the world banking sector, and similar to the healthcare and etc. And when you look at our bank sector, local bank sector, it's been outperforming the international banks by a country mile. Now given. We've had our banks trading at, you know, the likes of ABSA, Nedbank, they were trading at below net asset value till very recent. I mean, we're talking about 3 months ago. We were still sitting here saying, you know, why is the likes of ABSA, when the ROEs increased from the 11-12% levels now to 17-18% levels, still trading at below net asset value, and now we've seen these recoveries. You know, ABSA up to close to 1.5 times. You know, FirstRand, all of them went up. So I think the first thing, this is where I sort of agree with David again. We need to now be careful because they're not a dripping roast anymore. So when we sat 3-4 months ago, we always said, well, you can go to ABSA and put your money in the ABSA share and get way more in dividends than you will get by putting your money into the money market. Well, the dividends are still looking attractive, but they're not the 8-9% levels anymore.
You see,
hey, maybe
that's the whole thing. You see, now, Schalk, that's the whole thing. Right, stock pick. David, what are you choosing on this lovely Wednesday?
Nothing.
No!
You know what? In all fairness, Ray, I think we're going to get some bargains. I've been looking at what happened in Wall Street overnight. Big sell-off in the AI sector, the so-called sector rotation going into companies that are at the bottom end of the S&P 500. Nothing appealing there. But I think the sell-off that we saw last night in the software side of the market is overdone. And I think the worries about AI replacing a lot of those platforms, I think is overdone. Wow. That's where I'm focusing on. So, but I think I don't want to, you know, as long as we've got this turbulence, you know, I'm holding back a little. But I am looking at some of the companies that were hurt last night. I still like the segment, but today, I'm not in the mood. I don't like it. You know, I'm not in the mood for making for choosing anything.
It's a wobbly Wednesday, right? Schalk for you.
Yeah.
David, that was a lot of nothings, just by the way.
Yeah, exactly.
I was going into this conversation saying I'm going to pick cash because even old Warren Buffett always said sometimes cash is the perfect place to be. But I'm not going to disappoint. I mean, when we look at the market today, I still think one thing is one of my stock picks for the latter part of last year. And maybe it's sort of a case of even a broken clock is right twice a day, I hope. But I mean, one of my final picks for last year was Naspers.
Okay.
And as we went into Naspers, into 2000, well, let's call it the latter part of 2025 into 2026, Naspers did really, really well. And recently just turned around and now find itself, as we sit here, 15% down year to date. Process a similar story. And just on the back today, on a 10-cent, they've got this app, the WeChat app, and they've got these pop-ups. And the people just don't like these pop-ups. Markets are now crucifying them today again. And I just think it's a little bit overdone. This company is still trading at a 44% discount to its NAV, process around about the 30-odd%. I still think that the discount now is on the higher side and definitely looking attractive. So for the people out there that still saying they want to use this opportunity to do some bargain hunting, 15% lower than going into 2026, that's a bargain for me.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. We'll have to leave it there, I'm afraid. Sorry, David. We are way out of time. But I'm sorry. But thanks to both of you. Really enjoyed chatting to both of you this evening. Good to have you on Stockwatch. And that's all we have time for Stockwatch today. Thanks to our guests, Schalk Louw from PSG Wealth, Old Oak, and David Shapiro from Sasfin Wealth. Up next, The Close.